Welcome to the Barebow Project Podcast, developing fundamental skills for barebow archers and bringing the excitement of barebow competitive archery to you through the lens of some of the best archers and coaches in the world.
JD3 from Kingsley, PA. I like long walks on the beach.
I thought this was the Push podcast.
This week on the Barebow Project Podcast, you have me, Mick Chambers from the ArcheryGeek on YouTube, as I sit down and talk with some of the top competitors of the 136 U.S. National Championship. We've got John Dillinger, John Demmer, Joe Kashurek, Frank Mcdonough, Robert Hickerson. This was an amazing podcast. So without further ado, let's kick it. Hey everyone, welcome to the Barebow Project Podcast. My name is Mick Chambers. I'm going to be your host today. Typically it's Frank Mcdonough, but guess what? He is one of the barebow archer men superstars, heroes of this podcast. Yeah, we're talking you up, Frank, so you need to start acting like a hero. So all these guys on here are heroes of mine anyway, for sure. Super great archers. Some of them are a little bit new. You might recognize John Demmer. He's how many years you been doing this, John?
3 months.
Yep, 1 year. That's right. So anyway, thanks guys for being on the podcast, man. You guys did a fantastic job this year. 136 annual, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How about we go around the horn a little bit here and we just introduce each other to each other. You guys know each other, but to our listeners. So let's start with Robert. Why don't you go?
Robert Hickerson, Houston, Texas. Been in archery about 5-6 years. Did barebow now for about 2.
Wow, that's incredible. All right, Joe.
Sure. Joe Kashurek out of Houston, Texas. Been shooting barebow for about 4 years now. Been to a couple of national outdoor tournaments. This is the first one that I broke through, so to speak.
Yeah, you did well. You did really well. Frank, how about you? Everyone knows that.
Frank Mcdonough. I am the co-host of the Barebow Project. I'm an owner of Grass Hollow Archery. And I got lucky and managed to pull out a 4th place against some pretty stellar competition during the Open. And I don't remember what I got, national 6th, I think. So thanks for taking the reins on this one, Nick.
Well, I'll kick it off, and you guys will just take over. I hope that's what I'm hoping anyway. John Demmer III. Tell us who you are, where you've come from.
JD3 from Kingsley, PA. I like long walks on the beach, preferably under the moonlight. Haven't been single for 20 years. Sorry.
Well, if you think that's gonna change, it's not. How'd you do it? How'd you do at the Nationals, JD? Hey, you there?
Yeah. Did pretty good. Shot okay. Is Dillinger on here?
Yeah, no.
Who's he?
He's next.
Oh,
he's
who's
next.
that guy?
Don't worry about me.
He's next.
Whoa! What the heck is going on there?
No one
It's all gone. It's all gone, but the caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Filling in nicely.
all right, Dilly, come on. Let's hear your story and how you did.
Yeah, John Dillinger. I'm from Smithfield, Utah. Been shooting barebow about 6 years, I think now, but I've been shooting since I was like a teenager. So I've been compound, mostly hunting, stuff like that. So really just been competing seriously for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
A late bloomer.
So there's other than, I'd say Frank and JD, that's not a lot of experience in barebow, but some great results this year. Amazing. Are all you guys hunters?
No.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Frank is, John, I know you are, John Dillinger, I know you are, and John Demmer.
I thought this was the Push podcast.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you know what?
For a second.
Hey, Gilly, why don't you let your mustache introduce itself?
It's filling in nicely.
His mustache name is Matt Zernzak.
Looks great.
That's funny.
You ever watch a Family Guy episode where Peter had Brian as the mustache? That's what he looks like.
I'm not living my life without a mustache, even if sometimes my mustache has Alpo gas.
I don't think I want to.
Mustache fart.
So I used to hunt when I was in Pennsylvania, but now that I'm down here in Houston, they don't really hunt down here. They kind of like cage the deer and shoot at them. That's, a little bit different than what I'm used to.
Hey, Joe, you got a nickname or something? Am I supposed to be calling you something other than Joe?
You can call me Joe. You can call me Cash. You can call me whatever you like. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I think that's what Frank was calling you.
Honey.
Money, right?
We always call him Honey.
Is that
a couple other names, but we won't mention them since we're live.
No, hey, dude, you can say whatever you want. It's Frank's podcast, JD's podcast. So I'm going to have to edit everything out anyway. So gotcha. Take a little piss out of you. So okay, let's get the business. So it's funny that JD brought up the push. So a little later on, we're going to have a surprise guest on here. So if you're listening, stick around. It's going to be the best crossover since DC and Marvel. It's going to be amazing. So stick around until a little bit later on.
Right. Greg Pool's not coming on here, is he? No. All right, just checking. Oh, man. You might want to edit that out.
Okay.
Unless it could be PJ Riley. It could be PJ Riley.
You don't know.
I don't know. I don't like this you part being a host because who the hell knows what's going to happen.
It could be crazy. It's just.
He might be upset with me. I called him a chump earlier today.
Who, PJ?
Yeah, he was shooting against Jesse, and I said, "What is this, champs versus chumps?"
I saw that. So, listen, while we're talking about PJ is going to be a future guest on the podcast, but let me just say, did you notice his little sky draw he had going on there?
I did notice that.
You did notice it. So, yeah. I just wanted to make sure because I texted it to PJ, and this was his response. So, Mick, right about now, you're going to put the picture I'm going to send you of PJ at full draw at this moment, and then I'm going to read to you his response via text. Hold on, let me find it. I told him, I was like, "Cool, dude, I don't want to bust your balls, but I do." And then he said, "Watch the draw, dude. I don't draw up there." And then I said I was going to post a link to a sky draw video at Lancaster and say, does this look like the PJ that we know and love? But we'll let the viewers make the decision there.
And
shooting clout.
I'll put the video in here where he says, he's talking about, the proper draw weight just recently. And he said, I like to shoot 70 pounds because that's what's comfortable for me. I'm like, holy shit. 70 pounds, that's a lot.
He did shoot well in that little shoot off with Jesse though. Dilly, did you?
Oh yeah, he shot really well. Yeah.
Demmer, did you see it yet?
No, I don't support anything PJ related.
Oh my god, that's funny.
It was staged.
It was 70 edited. Pounds. He can't pull 70 pounds. That's a bunch of horse shit.
70 pounds. Holy shit.
Oh my gosh. He's not even here to defend himself, and we're cutting him down like crazy.
He can listen to this and come on later. He can listen to this and come on next week.
Hey, all right, man.
Let's go through what's going through everyone's mind. I think a lot of people want to know, at your guys' level, what are you guys thinking about when you're shooting? Let's talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into equipment, and then we'll move on from there. But, it'd be really good to understand your thought process, how you prepare for the tournament, that sort of thing. So why don't I go around? We'll start off with your preparation for the tournament, and then we'll move into shot process and then into your equipment. So Frank, why don't you start us off? How did you prep for this year's Nationals?
By shooting with Demmer to find out exactly what I needed to improve on. No, I was struggling. So I shot a lot. I mean, I shouldn't say I was struggling. My bow tune was definitely messed up, but my form was messed up too. And I think coming off of that diet and not being as strong as I thought I was leaning into my shot a lot. So I do this thing called periodization where I ramp up and then shoot a whole crap ton of arrows and then ramp down going into the tournament. And then I shot with JD and, you know, he's like, dude, like I lean, I can't help it. It's just the position that my body's in when I tighten my quads and my glutes at full draw. It's just the position I'm in, but I was leaning hard. And Demer was like, dude, you're leaning more than you've ever before. And I had some bow tune issues, had some crappy excess swings on there that I was going with 50. Let me rephrase that. I made a crappy decision of putting 50 millimeter excess swings on, and I should have had 70s on. And that's kudos to Demer for like, dude, just put them on and trust me. So I did that, and it made a world of difference. My scores immediately went up when I fixed my tune and fixed my lean. And what was going through my head was the first day sucked a little bit, but I really just did not worry about score at all. Mm-hmm. And I really concentrated on that in day 2, and it helped me a lot in day 2. And I can tell you that eliminations, I was the calmest I was the entire weekend. I felt really good. And that's about it.
Okay. All right. Good. So a little bit of confidence there in the end and a little bit of coaching from JD. Joe, Cash Money, talk us through how you prepped for this tournament.
So, you know, down here in Texas, we have this range called Buffalo Field Archery Range, and myself, Rick Stonebreaker, and another gentleman that shoots barebow, Dave Nesbitt, we put on a tournament about 2 weeks before the actual nationals, and we basically did a 2-day 144 arrow tournament just to you know, get an idea, get a feel for the clock. You know, as far as preparation goes, I think it's pretty safe to say that most of your the tournament is basically won, lost, or successful, whether or not your you know, your practices go well. So we just practiced a lot, and you know, put on a couple of small tournaments, and you know, just drove up there. And at the point when we actually got to the tournament, I think I was completely relaxed and calm, and just, you know, looking to have a good time at that point.
All right, so you had a dress rehearsal before the actual tournament.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, John and Frank had one too.
Okay.
We did. I didn't shoot though. I was judging the event. But you know, John shot. Actually, I think, you know, shout out to you, Cash Money, because you broke the one day. You broke the senior world men's barebow record. And somehow, I don't know exactly what happened, but it didn't get registered, but you did have the record. So kudos to you. That was the same weekend as my tournament, I think. Or no,
it was the week before.
The week before. And then JD ended up breaking it, his own record. Anyway, but and what was that score? Just you shot 651?
So I think I shot a 651. Then he came back and beat me on the
second day,
double on the 72 round. Yeah. But I still had him on the double round. I think I shot a 1297, and then he just smoked me with like a 1328 or something like that.
Yeah, he was on fire. I'm not gonna lie, he was on fire, and he actually should. We have a long-standing argument, and I don't know if he's listening. If he's in the background, he's not in the video right now. He probably arguably could have been a point higher. I took a point away from him judging. I wouldn't give it to him because it was close. So this is what we're gonna do, Nick. Not to give you the editing, but I'm gonna send you the pictures of the arrow, and then we're gonna let our viewers decide if that arrow is in or out. That's what we're going to do.
You're going to get so many feedback on that one.
So we do have a tournament coming up in October. So when I shoot a 1329, it's going to hurt.
Shots fired.
Better not be by 1 point, dude. Get roasted. All right, cool, man. Robert, how'd you prepare for the tournament?
Practice. First of all, I owe Joe a big help, big shout out. He loaned me his riser and helped me get it tuned in. Sold me some arrows. So I'm like the budget archer. I get what I can and shoot, but it was a lot of practice. I started going out there 3 days a week, 2.5 hours at time, pulling arrows, just shooting. Wasn't really keeping score at first, just trying to get my shot process down. Then I started throwing some scores in, and I saw where I shot some score the last summer, and shot where I saw my score just overnight had just skyrocketed. And I was chasing Joe, and right before we left, I mean, I was like just a few points behind Joe, and I felt real confident about it. And then when we got to the Nationals on day one, first round, I shoot a 50, I think it was a 54. And we always joked about who gets the star this round. And I yelled over at Joe. I was like, Joe, what'd you get? He goes, a 53. I said, I get the star. Well, then I went back and looked at the between ends, and it was our other buddy Corbett was number one, I was number two, and Joe was number three after the first in. I was like, I took a snapshot of that. I was like, let's screenshot that. Keep one of those mementos in my phone. So
yeah, that's awesome.
But just a lot of practice, just working on form.
Yeah, just show that to him anytime he gets too big for his britches. That's perfect.
At that point, I walked over and thought about taking my bow back, but I thought,
no kidding. Why would you? So you gave him your best bow, or was that one broke? Has a hairline fracture in it or something?
Apparently, I gave him the good one. So
nice.
No, he told me. No. He told me when he goes, I like a good challenge, and I hear that this bow, and I'm not going to put manufacturers to it. He's like, they say it's not a great Barebow, so I'm a work with this bow out. I said, okay. So he loaned me his CD riser, and I shot really well with it.
Yeah, well, we're going to come back to equipment. So let's keep going here. John Dillinger, how did you prep? What were you doing? Get ready for it.
This year, I hate to say it, but this is probably the least amount of prep I've done for any outdoor nationals. I don't know. I was just kind of just listening to my body, I guess. I did during the whole COVID thing and everything. I've kind of done some weight training. I'd lift every day and just try to to stay strong and feel strong when I do shoot. But some days I would only go up and shoot half a round. Some days I'd shoot a full round. Just kind of basically just trying to fine tune my shot and just finding a tune. So actually my tune I threw together, I pulled a dimmer and I threw my tune together about 2 days before the tournament. And that's what I went with. And I think sometimes, that's the best way to go. Whatever you're shooting best at the time is what I do. And we really don't have many 50-meter shoots out here. Down in Salt Lake, they maybe have 1 or 2 a year, but they haven't even had any, this year because of the COVID thing. But I usually just go up to some property and put my target out at 50 meters and just shoot by myself. And it's usually windy where I shoot. So, that kind of helps getting prepared for the wind a little bit, which we always seem to have at Target Nationals. So, but yeah, I didn't shoot 1 million arrows. I think, I'm kind of a believer anymore is as long as you're not working on changing anything, is just trying to keep what you already have, So just trying to try to maintain. Keep what you have. It's, you've already shot the 1 million shots in your life, it seems like, and you just try to, what's working and what will work, and you just kind of go with it. So,
hey, so talk a little bit about your weight training though. Like what specifically are you working out on to help with
I just try to keep it simple. It's really, it's no lower body or anything like that, but it's mostly just upper body. I try to keep it basic, just like, shoulders, back, chest, triceps, biceps. I try to just keep it as basic possible. Some free weights, some machine weights, things like that. But I don't do any powerlifting like Frank or anything like that. I just try to, and I do. It's funny. I probably look like a wuss in there. I try to keep it just fairly lightweight, with really good form, and
No, that's good.
Frank doesn't do powerlifting, so let's just clear that up.
You look like you're a powerlifter though. You got.
I do it. I've done Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit. I've never power lifted. Just
okay. Sorry.
Anyway,
Thanks, John.
you did awesome, Dilly.
Thanks.
John Dillinger. Sorry, John Demmer. Sorry, let's go. Thanks. Let's go to John Demmer. And how did you prepare?
I spent a long time trying to figure out a tune that would work. Been shuffling back and forth between tunes and finally stumbled across something that worked fairly decent. That took a long time.
Sorry to interrupt you. We got a special guest that just joined. I'm just wondering if we can get him to make a few comments. Sorry to interrupt you.
Dude, you're in the wrong podcast meeting, dude.
Dude, I was supposed to be on a podcast with a bunch of good archers, and I must have taken a left turn a couple blocks back or something.
Didn't you ditch us?
So
didn't you ditch us for nationals?
Zach from Push.
I did. What's up, dudes?
What's up, man?
Hello.
Hey, look, Nicole Zernzak joined us.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
I know. She gets me into like these secret events a lot. Like, obviously she's a lot easier on the eyes than I am.
You interrupted JD trying to explain his prep work.
I thought it smelled like shit in here.
It did, right?
It was about to.
I did steal some of your antiperspirant. So
did you? That's a nice flower in the background, JD3. I like it.
Is it? See if I can put it on my head.
All
So,
right.
truth be told, Matt was supposed to shoot on a target with me at Nationals. And I may or may not be holding his Nationals placard for his quiver ransom at the moment. But yeah, dude,
I hope you cherish that.
Oh, I'm gonna cherish that for years to come. But it's better than tearing an ACL or MCL or whatever the hell you did to your knee.
Yep, MCL. So dumb, man.
You're gonna have to show us.
It looks like you guys had an awesome time.
It was good.
We did. Next time,
a little windy.
Next time, step up your Kegel game so you don't get hurt.
It's a family show, John.
I heard next time they're going to hold nationals on Mount Washington.
That would be fantastic.
Not windy enough. Yeah.
I might make it on that one. I do have a question, Dilly. I'm really enjoying that mustache, buddy. That new look of yours is killer, bro.
You missed my comment earlier. Tell me he doesn't look like a 15-year younger Rich Barker right now.
Let me see.
That's
Dilly,
a compliment. He's a handsome man.
He's not popping up on my screen. Let me see. There he is. Oh, he does. Oh my goodness.
Put it in gallery view. You can see everyone.
Oh, that's what
Dilly is easy on the eyes.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
You notice he shot all weekend with that hat down and those dark sunglasses, and that was so that people couldn't tell what level his serving was at.
Is he looking at the server or not?
There's been a lot of questions about that. Yeah. And honestly, I shot all summer with those sunglasses on, and I took them off for a little while, and I could not shoot. So I put the sunglasses back on, and so I left them on. Even though it was cloudy, I'm not taking them off.
I thought they were special Garmin Target sunglasses.
Yeah, they were.
I want to show you guys something. Can I show you guys something real quick? So there's only one person on this world that would choose these color bowstrings to make it out of, right? So only one person made these bowstrings. And I happen to have these two sets. These are JD3 bowstrings. I just want you to check something. I'm not messing around, I'm not doing anything. Look at the relationship of this serving to my eye.
It's right on there.
No matter what now watch. This is 2 for 2. Watch this. This is ridiculous. I can't. Ready? Look, the second one's the same thing. No matter what I do, they're right in front of my pupil. So
it's kind of creepy that you keep all of his bowstrings, though. I'll be honest with you.
I mean, just so you guys know,
there's a whiteboard.
There was a plan. All right, there was a plan, and I want you guys to follow on. The plan for serving gate was step number 1, serving eye height. Step number 2, pay off the judges.
Yep.
Step number 3, pay off Frank, Joe, and everyone else. Step number 4, divert attention to Claire. And then step number 5 was let Dilly win. So
Done.
Seems like it worked.
Works for Steve, man. Oh,
That's
again,
awesome.
yeah.
it was a good time though. It was a good
I
time.
hope nobody got any monetary, paying for that, because all I got was like fly fishing lessons. So I feel like I got gypped.
Sorry, Joe. You must have missed that meeting.
That's great. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna bail out just like I did on Outdoor Nationals. So I'm gonna jump out. Love you guys.
Hey, Matt.
See you, Matt.
You did you
Matt.
want to mention something though about? Did you?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's interesting. About an hour ago, I just got off the mics with Fawn Gerard and Dwayne Martin. We have a podcast launching tonight to promote the boot camp, and the boot camp is coming up in 2 weeks, September 11th. There's about 65 spots taken up so far of the 75, but tonight they announced that they would take 100 if enough people wanted to join up. So check it out. It's Friday, the September 11th. 6:00 is dinner. There's going to be an introduction, a little presentation, and then all day Saturday, you're teamed up with some of the greatest archers, barebow archers and longbow archers in the country, and you're mentored. You walk around 3D courses, and they're just here to polish your game. This is not an entry-level weekend type of course. They're not going to teach you how to your stance or how to grip the bowstring. This is a master class to where they are taking your game and they're polishing those holes that you have in your game to take you to the next level and hopefully get you from placing 7th, 8th, and 9th to 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Well, I'll be
Awesome.
there. You'll be there. We'll have some coverage of it. But for anyone that's listening, and I'll try and get this out as quick as I possibly can. Sign up, talk to Fawn Gerard, get on Facebook. I think you can contact her there. I want to say Instagram as well. She's under
Facebook is primary. Yep.
Facebook is primary though, and then register for that course. It's cheap, $100. Come on, guys, get it done, man. It's ridiculous for not going. And if you bail on it, if you're supposed to be an instructor and you bail on it, that's lame too. Not cool.
Is it?
You're getting it all, JD. I feel bad, man.
Is it virtual?
No, you don't.
Yeah, you can do it virtually too. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, really? So I can actually get Dwayne Martin to carry me around in his phone?
Absolutely.
Oh, that would be entertaining.
There may or may not be a 100% of the funds go to the USA Archery Team online course made out of the weekend that if you can't attend, you can purchase and donate. That money all gets donated to the USA Archery Team forever, and it's going to be somewhat of an online course coming out. So that may or may not be happening.
USA Archery Barebow Team
and longbow and instinctive class.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. Just want to make sure that my money's going to the right place.
Absolutely. Yep. The whole team. The whole crazy lot of you.
Really appreciate it coming on, Matt. And thanks.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Frank,
Matt.
for setting that up. That's fun.
No problem, man. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks, Matt.
See you, Matt.
All right. Now that we've been derailed.
No, we're good. We're good. I mean, I'm glad you got on there. And sorry, JD, we kind of set you up on that to kind of. But hey, why don't you tell us about your prep work?
Oh, so yeah, this year was a little bit of a struggle for me trying to figure out a tune. So I ended up spending way too much time on figuring out what worked and what didn't work. But I still put in the volume of arrows, still build up the tournament strength, shot a lot of arrows. Tried to shoot a lot of 9 to 12 arrow ends. So when it comes down to tourney time, that I was pretty strong throughout. Didn't really fade at the end. Everything was pretty consistent. That worked out. That was pretty much it. Did a lot of training. Unfortunately, most of it was tuning, but that kind of squared away at the end.
Did you go on diet the same one as Frank or something like that too, or did you do some sort of
a little bit later, but yeah,
a little later.
Okay.
Yeah,
a little later. So
you got close though. You almost cut it too close to.
I'm with Dilly. No diet.
Yeah.
Right before, because I remember getting a message and he was like, "Hey man, when you start cutting a lot, like you get kind of weak and shaky," and I was like, "Yeah, it's hard to shoot like a lot of arrows. You get 30, 45 arrows in, and you're like, ugh."
Yeah, I couldn't. In the mornings, I couldn't practice. It was too bad. It was shaking like crazy and no strength. I got very panicky. So I had to wait till the afternoons to do any shooting.
And just to elaborate why that is because we were doing an intermittent fasting. So you don't eat from 8 p.m. until 12 p.m. the next day. So you go that full time without any food, and it does affect you. And, and maybe in some small way, it's a relationship to how you feed your body in relationship to a tournament. If you don't eat or if you don't take food or whatever, definitely could have an effect on you. But,
So,
but anyway.
But it does.
Go ahead, Joe.
It does work for losing weight, though.
Oh,
you guys are, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You guys look great. Just outside influences. No, you do. You guys look fantastic. Outside influences. So this is a major U.S. event, obviously. Did you guys get camera shy at all, or was anyone panicking over the cameras at all? Robert?
No, well, my panic was on day 2. I'm standing there and I've got Dilly next to me and I see Dillinger on the other side. I'm like, how did I get this high on the list? So that was my panic. Those first 2 rounds, day 2, I was like shaking. I'm like, what is going on? But I settled in and, shot strong. But no, the cameras didn't bother. It was funny. He was right next to me, but he was taking pictures of Dillinger and Dimmer right behind me. I'm like, he don't even know who I am. Hey, I'm good.
So you guys slipped under the radar there. Hey, but Joe, how about you? Any kind of?
No, not really. I mean, you know they're there, but it happens.
How about
You
standing
can't
on the
control
line
it.
next? How about standing on the line next to the 2 Johns though? That's pressure.
I've known both of them for a good amount of time, so I'm pretty used to them. We have some pretty funny conversations on the line.
That's good. It's okay. So you guys know each other. And Frank, how about you? You love the camera though. Sorry, the camera loves you. The camera loves you.
I would say that back shooting Lancaster at the Classic, I definitely had a little bit of jitters. A lot of that has changed because my thought process has changed, and I don't care. I don't think about anything else that's going on around me. I don't pay attention to anything else. I don't even think about my score, and that came through at Outdoor Nationals for me. Like I definitely had a light bulb moment at Nationals this year. So I'm going to ride that wave as long as I can on the mental side.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. And sorry, the Johns, you guys get cameras in your face all the time. I'm just going to assume that you're good with them, or does it still make you a little bit nervous?
I have to point out the only reason why I would get my picture taken is because you're usually taking it up dimmer, and you would see like my quiver. I'm like, hey, that's my quiver, or my leg, or my back, or something like that. So it's usually pictures of dimmer, and I just happen to be standing next to him or shooting next to him.
Well, last year at ASA, Cam was starting to cover a lot of the ASAs and got the contract for covering them. They did a lot of camera work on us the one day, and they would shoot from like kind of in front of us while we're shooting across. So if you get used to that camera angle and you hear the click, 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 and you get used to that, any other camera is just like no big deal at all.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to, I think you just have to zone it out. I mean, I don't know. I'm just able to most of the time I'm able just to zone it out and ignore it,
That's kind of
it doesn't really bother me that much.
That's kind of what I want to get into next. I want to talk about shot process and how you focus and how you get that laser focus and how you execute under pressure, right? So I think everyone would love to know. Everyone would love to steal how you guys do that. So I'm assuming it's probably different, all the way up the board here. So why don't we start? John Dillinger, why don't you go ahead with your shot process? You don't mind?
As far as shot process, what do you mean?
Like, how do you? Okay, I set my feet. I get my mind mentally focused. I grab the string. Then I release, execute.
Yeah,
that's it.
I have a series of steps, and if I miss a step, I'll start over, and if I don't, I'm usually in trouble. I get crossed up or something like that. But
is it a secret
usually
sauce? Is it secret?
Huh?
You don't want to. Is it secret sauce magic that you don't want to give up?
No. I mean, these guys will say it's the head bob. But I don't even know why I do that. It's kind of, when you see that, at that point, my grip is good, my bow arm's good, my bow shoulder's good. I'm kind of gone through all my final checks, and I'm in my back, and everything's feeling really solid. And then I just kind of settle my head in, and then the shot just goes off. And it's not, I mean, it's kind of intentional, but it's not really intentional. You know what I mean? Most of the time I know when it's going to go off. You know, it's I don't know. I do have a series of steps, you know. I'm kind of sounding confusing, but
No, you're good.
I'll kind of, very first thing I'll do is I'll set my grip, and then I'll raise up my bow arm. I'll make sure my bow shoulder is in the proper position. And once I get back, I'll recheck my grip once I get almost to like full draw. And once my grip is done, I'll kind of settle into my face. And then at that point, I'll start actually getting into my back. And I'm actually able to start feeling if I'm in my back and if I have good alignment. I don't check string blur. I don't do any of that. I think all that stuff kind of just happens subconscious after shooting a while. You know, I'll check it every once in a while if something's not going right or something like that. But once I get in my back and I just get relaxed and settled in, it just happens. And then I just try to focus. Once the shot's going off, I try to focus on basically bow arm. And another thing I have to watch is if I feel like I'm pulling straight back. I feel like my draw shoulder tends to get too high sometimes or too low. So I kind of have to watch that, and that'll cause me to have high-low shots. Mm-hmm. But it's usually, my high-low shots are usually on the back end. It's not really finger pressure, I think. It's just I'm getting into my back, but I'm just not in the exact right position. But typically my misses are my dropping my bow arm, or I will get crossed up if I don't get in my back good enough, meaning it'll be low left is usually my miss. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I don't have like a certain draw that, you know, that some people follow, a certain coach or anything like that. It's just kind of stuff I've picked up by watching and talking to Dimmer a lot over the years, and some of these other shooters, Rick and Ben and things like that.
So self-taught. Yeah, no, it sounds
good. Pretty much.
JD,
it's not pretty.
Yeah, it looks. It's winning. It's winning. So it's working, right? It's working. Yeah. It's working. JD, tell us your shot process. Okay. Yep. I'm gonna.
Yep. He's got his microphone turned off.
I'm gonna turn it.
So you're on mute. Demmer, you're on mute.
And then I turn my bow upside down, and I.
Oh, there we go.
We're gonna get him a shirt that says "muted."
And
all right, he's tying flies.
He's tying flies.
I'm trying to. I'm seeing what I got around here.
If we're born to, we can call you back later.
I'm one of those guys that like just kind of pays attention and has to fiddle with other stuff. It's kind of weird, but
I'm fiddling.
So my shot process has been pretty much the same for like the last 15 years. It's pretty basic, pretty simple, and just kind of just got to stick with it. And it's basic, you know, foot placement, you know, grip the bow or put my hand on the grip, put some pressure, let me start over again. So just set your feet, kind of dig into the grip a little bit, find my crawl, go down to my crawl, put a little bit of pressure on that, then kind of seat my grip a little bit more, pull back, you know, feel the anchor, find the anchor. Usually that's almost instant, and feel the bull shoulder. It usually feels pretty good right off the bat, and then just feel the back a little bit, and then transfer to aim. And aim is just pretty much just a simple pause. Like I kind of, if you're talking to somebody and you're kind of, or someone's talking to you and you're kind of staring into space and you're kind of zoning out and you're kind of listening, but you're not, that's pretty much what my aim is. Especially when I'm trying to load up everything and make sure everything feels good.
Yeah.
And then when I transfer to the aiming side, boom, like I'm like back to focus. I'm focusing on the target. the arrow secondary. By keeping the arrow secondary and not primary, I tend to keep my jitters down. I get less anxious. Usually my pluck misses are when I'm kind of transferring to the point a little too much and focus on the point too much, because then I'm trying to catch the arrow coming off the bow, and that's usually something that's usually not very good. So that's pretty much my process, is focus on the target, and then when it feels good, just let it rip. There's no trigger, there's nothing that activates it. It just kind of just goes when it's there, and you trust it. It just goes.
Awesome. So when you get that sight picture, you just release.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not sight picture. So there's a pause in there. Like,
yeah,
I'll get the sight picture, and then I don't, like I said, I don't stare at the arrow hardcore. So it's kind of like a very blurry arrow.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is going to be on video or not. But let's pretend it is. So you got your target here, and here's my arrow. But if this is going to be so out of focus, but you can still see it in your peripheral while you're trying to focus on that target. And then I just get it into that zone in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And then just focus on target, and then just trust it, because no matter what you do, that arrow is going to float. Unless I'm having an extremely awesome aiming day, it doesn't move, or it doesn't appear to move. But usually it just moves just a little bit, and you can easily get caught up in getting flinchy by just focusing on that tip and trying to get it to fire when it's perfect. And I usually tend to make a lot more mistakes when I try to do that, so I try to stay away from that.
Interesting. All right, really cool. Robert, how about you? What's your shot process?
Well, pretty much is what they both described. I set my grip with a little pressure on the string, check my crawl, come up, and because I was practicing so much, the anchor was just simple. It just went right to the anchor every time. And now I think I focused a little bit more on the arrow tip more than what John was talking about. And so you get that floating in there, but once it kind of hit the spot, I was able to just let go of all. And my biggest problem was release. I would sometimes pluck it, and I could tell because it would fly left to the 7, and I'm like, I could tell right off the release, I knew where it was going. But when I really concentrated on the release, that actually helped me more of hitting the middle with my arrows.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Joe, how about you? Anything different to add? Anything to add?
Yeah, so I pretty much do. I pick Stonebreaker's brain a lot. I watch a lot of people. I like watching. Funny enough, I like watching. What is it? Kang, Che Young on YouTube. I love her shot process, and I really do watch a lot of her technique, and I'm really impressed with it. Between that and listening to the Johns and Stonebreaker, it helps. So I listen to a lot of it, and I take a lot of feedback, and I try to incorporate it into my shot. And it's one of those things where I pretty much agree with Demmer the way that he described his aiming process, and I agree. And Frank's spot on with how he described it. It's one of those things where you have to let it all go, set yourself up into the common, or not Frank, I'm sorry, Dillinger, sorry, yeah. And basically just set it up the way that you normally do it, make sure everything feels right, and let it go.
That's awesome. How about you, Frank? Dillinger, Mcdonough.
Yeah, we look alike.
I know.
It's the mustaches.
I mean, I've described my shot process quite a few times
throughout,
but I'll tell you the one thing, and I mentioned this to Demmer. I had, like I said about being calm, or being the calmest I've ever been in a tournament. I finally, I think I understood two things. We all talked about it, I think, at the house, but I've talked to Demmer about it quite a few times, about having sort of two shots, because the wind was very, what's the word what did we say, Demmer? Annoying. The wind was sort of annoying.
Annoying, yeah.
Because it just wasn't consistent. It was fast. It was slow. It was in your face. It was side to side. And I really tried to implement that day too, and shooting a stronger shot when the wind was heavier and tried to let my float happen, which is probably closer to like my shot on an indoor target, shooting 40 centimeters on an 18 meters. But the other thing that was sort of like a light bulb moment at nationals was I've gotten better at letting the float happen and just enjoying the aim and letting the arrow go wherever the hell the arrow wants to go. But what I noticed I was still doing, even though I was looking at the target, I was still out of my peripheral. I was paying too much attention to the tip of the arrow. And when I would literally maybe it was just for a split second, but deliberately ignore the tip of the arrow and pretend I'm staring a hole through the middle of the X, all of a sudden, like the herky jerky, all that other stuff just went away. It literally just went away. The float would happen, and then I can concentrate on the feel of that calmness, that moment of calmness that happens. And if you guys all know, and I mean, I've said it a million times, I work on my release religiously. If I can't work on something, if I don't have time, I work on my release, because my bad release saves my ass sometimes on a crappy aim or a bad bow arm shot. And just like to have like a fallback, and then my release is my fallback. I try to be as smooth and consistent as possible on my release.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. You guys all.
I have a terrible release, and I know it, and I work on it constantly.
I sent you that picture on purpose. That one picture where you're like.
Yeah, that's like a what just happened.
You look like Dilly after lifted weights. Like, hey, can you give me directions to target number 69?
I struggle with my release so much. I think I need to work on hand-eye coordination.
Okay.
It's tough. It's tough. It is tough in Barebow.
If Joe can get his release down, I think that's definitely his biggest crux. If he can ever get that down,
words are hard.
Definitely, words. English is very difficult.
I don't brain so good.
We speak no well. But no, if Joe could get his release down, dude, he'd be like killer.
As he ties the fly.
He would be absolutely killer.
Advice while we tie flies from JD3.
Joe, the one thing I have found with a lot of the shooters that I work with is that when these do happen, it's an alignment issue more than not, because and I think if I remember correctly, you kind of have like a high elbow.
Yes.
And you'll see, so if you can tweak that alignment so that you're able to get down into here, it actually allows you to hold into the back more, and you'll find that then the elbow doesn't have to continue that rotation. And then on the bad shots, you're going to automatically default to whoever that has to go to. So, I mean, I don't know what everybody's got. Everybody's built different. Biomechanically, we're all different. So you can't guarantee that you're going to be able to get into the same line that I get into or John gets into or whatever. But I mean, if you could do that, dude, you're going to knock it out of the park as long as you can keep shooting.
You're absolutely right.
You and Robert, man, you guys both shot freaking awesome. Especially day one. You guys hammered it. I mean, it was pretty, because I'm like, who's this dude? I heard of you, Joe, obviously, but even I'm like, man, I never heard of him before. I'm looking at the score. I'm like, that dude is smoking. But it's cool. It's awesome seeing new faces and new names.
It was really impressive to see how fast Robert picked it up, and he jumped right to the front of the pack. We have a pretty hefty Barebow community down in Houston, and I mean, he jumped right up there. So it was really great to see. So
thank you.
You're very welcome, man. And you were a great opponent too. It was great shooting next to you. We had a good time.
Well, day 3 kind of threw me off though. I was expecting to get the buy rounds to warm up a little bit, and all of a sudden they cut it, and I was like, oh no, because I take a few extra arrows to get warmed up, and next thing I know, I'm having to jump from target to target, and that threw me off again. And I was like, we'd actually had done a practice shoot up a couple weeks before, and I was calm and cool and collected and hitting it. And that day I just was off, and I'm like, this stinks.
I forgot to mention that. I don't think any of us did. So right before we were going into eliminations, we were originally supposed to have everyone shoot. And then the weather was horrible. It was raining, blowing, wind, everything in the kitchen sink. And right beforehand, they cut the field to only the top 8. And there was shooters on the field waiting to shoot. Like, it was literally 10 minutes before. There was definitely some not so happy faces, but it is what it is. We're not stressed with running the tournament. So it is what it is. But yeah, man, I definitely played a role in, I think, all of us in some ways. It was just like, what?
Yeah. Your calm, cool, collective thought processes, and I'm there, little squirrel in the trying to get a nut. I'm like, holy crap, what am I doing? So,
Yeah.
That's
I will say this
lyrics
much.
to 50 Cent song.
I will say this much, though. We did put on a great show for all the people that showed up. So
It was a good time.
best we could do.
Yeah, you guys did fantastic. This has turned into a little bit of a kumbaya. I thought you guys would be at each other's throats. There was a lot more competition between the men. The women, if you listen to that podcast, that was, there was a big love fest there. It was great. But I thought you guys were competitors. But it sounds like you're just trying to help each other out. Is that the case?
If you think
you guys
that
do
we
help
did not want to not have a John in the top 2, you're freaking crazy.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing more than to beat Dilly. Unfortunately, he kicked my ass 6-0.
Dilly kind of got really lucky through his matches.
I had some good matches.
I gotta tell you, he got super, super lucky. Dude, like, my matches were epic.
No, I had some tough matches.
No, that young kid Daniel was chasing him hard.
My first match, I shot like a 29, 26, 28, 28, 28. So I had to go 5 sets against Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel was smoking that day. He was on.
He lit that up, no doubt.
Then I shoot against Joe and shoot a 29, 26, 28, and we're tied 3-3. And if Dilly faced any of those two guys in the first 2 rounds, gone. He was gone. He would have been a has-been. Nobody would even be talking to him. We wouldn't even have him on this podcast.
He would have went home and shaved his mustache in shame.
Matches you did.
It was good. Eliminations are like, they're good and bad. I think me and Dimmers talked about this quite a bit. He hates them sometimes. I hate them sometimes, but it's good. It's a different kind of shooting. I'm not a good qualifier. I mean, this,
says a man who wasn't that far behind.
Scores aren't that good, but I don't know. I find a way usually in elimination matches to work my way through, and I don't know how, but it is elimination matches. I mean, you're kind of just running on autopilot. You know what I mean? You don't even really have time to think because things are happening so quick. You're jumping from one target to another, and you're just, here we go. So you just kind of basically just running on autopilot, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
what's your thoughts, John?
It's survival mode. It's it's tough. It's kind of a crapshoot, and you try not to get caught up on how your opponent's shooting. Because it can get to your head pretty quick. If you're paying attention and your opponent shoots at 10, now you're kind of like freaking out a little bit. So you kind of just got to stick to your own game and trust your own game, and the cards are going to play the way they are. I mean, statistically, if you're the number 1 seed, statistically, you're not going to win, the percentage you should win. Or if you're the number 4 seed, there's a good chance that you might move up. So it is what it is. The odds going in. So you kind of just shoot your best and let it play out the way it's going to play out. There's nothing you can do to control your opponent. The only thing you can do is control you.
Yeah, I will say when I shot against Frank, I think we were both really relaxed. We were having a really great conversation when we weren't shooting in between ends. That was great. When I was shooting against JD3, I had it was a lot more tense because I knew what he's capable of. So it seemed like it mattered more, and I don't think I shot as well.
So you didn't worry about Frank at all because you know how terrible of a shooter he is. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. It was just it was a really good match, and both of us were having a good time. You really are evil,
John.
Oh, he is. He is. That's because he knows his days are numbered.
I think that was a slate.
Yeah, you're on notice.
John.
Listen, he doesn't need to worry about me. He needs to worry about Daniel Collins. That's what he needs to worry about. That kid and Hugo Lobb. A couple of these other young bucks that are coming because, listen.
My day is definitely coming to an end, and then I'll be chasing all the geriatric butts.
Hey, I only have a couple of years. I'm ready to move
next year.
I was going to say, didn't you touch on that, Dillinger? Where you were like, oh, good, I get to shoot against Stonebreaker next. Good luck with him because he is tough.
I'm not worried about Rick.
Yeah.
They were fun matches for sure, and we weren't, we were just having a good time. I mean, but shooting against the Dillinger, you say what you want, Demmer, but our matches were relatively close.
Because you guys both sucked.
because we respect each other. No, I'm just. Yeah, man. Admittedly, Demmer, you definitely pulled the rough card on those two matches. For sure. There's no question. We were all kind of watching Daniel. To be honest, that's why we were distracted because we were just like the kid was just fire.
He was killing it.
You get those young shooters that are just absolute piss and vinegar.
Fearless.
They're just dangerous. They're dangerous at any time. As long as you can harness that in, man, his future is bright.
Well, that's the one thing that goes with the matches. There's always going to be an upset somewhere. You never know where it's going to come from. There was times where I faced Jared Neal in Lancaster, who is the bottom seed that made it into the shoot-offs. And that first match, you just don't know what's going to happen. Even the lower seeds can just like sneak up on you and surprise you. Jared almost took me out the first match the one year, and he would have beat every other person in the first round. So you never know. Yeah. It's kind of interesting to see who shows the play and who kind of buckles a little bit, because it usually kind of dives into a little bit about who they are. And I said Daniel's going to be a tough.
I had Daniel Schill in my first round at Lancaster, and I think Dimmer even walked over and noticed this, but he was killing it. He was shooting like 28s and 29s, and I was like, "Holy cow!" So yeah, so some of these kids can really shoot. So if they can just keep it together, just work on their consistency a little bit. But
there's a lot of us pulling.
There's a lot of really good shooters out there.
There was a lot of us pulling for Daniel that year.
Oh, that's cold.
I bet
fired.
Check who made Daniel's strings. That's what I want.
You robbed me on that, John. You took that away from me because I was going to beat you fair and square, and you had to go and shoot the other target. You had to shoot the wrong target.
I gave you 7 bonus points.
I remember
that. That was a head start, Dilly.
I was actually mad when he did that because I was kicking his butt. So that was his way out. Oh, target panic.
That was a classic example. What I mentioned earlier about got too caught up in looking at the arrow point and not paying attention to the gold. Yeah,
Mick, we're all friends here, but when it comes to shooting against one another, I want to kill that guy. Yeah. I want to embarrass him.
Same.
Yep.
That's awesome.
He wants to steal my wife and steal my TV. That's a Ricky Bobby reference for all those that didn't know.
It is true though. When it comes to competition, we are pretty fierce.
Yeah. Because I mean, the small things. My biggest thing was I wanted to beat Rick Stonebreaker, and at one point I was like, okay, I couldn't catch Dillinger, and I thought my process was stay in front of Joe. Then I shot a 7. I'm like, well, that's the wrong thought process. And I was like, okay, I got to beat Rick. I didn't even know where Rick was, but that drove me to the end. As long as it was small things. I had to beat Rick. So.
He was on a totally different division.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but
got him.
score wise,
Massive.
A lot of people beat Rick that weekend. It's just not in the master class. He shot good. He shot pretty good. That we were kind of lucky this year, even with COVID, that we had so many people signed up. I think we were still into the 20s. It's kind of a little bit of a shame because I think we probably could have clicked into the 30s this past year, which would have been definitely unprecedented.
Yeah, I think we would have set a new record for Barebow turnout. Had COVID not happened.
Yeah, and that would have been pretty cool to see. But
Barebow as a sport, obviously, you guys have invested a lot in Barebow as a sport, your sport. Do you think the world is investing? Is it growing? Is it going to continue to grow? What's your thoughts? How do we keep it growing? I mean, obviously, everyone on this podcast loves Barebow. We'll do anything for it, but how do we keep it growing? What are the things we need to do better? I mean, JD, you've been like the representative of us for years now, right? And
we just got to keep it in people's vision. We can't let people forget about us. So we kind of try to lift up each other all at every moment we can. Try to highlight people's accomplishments and just try to keep that narrative going of like positivity. Always keep it in back of people's minds so they can't forget about us.
Yeah, we're the fun group, right? That's another.
Keep it fun.
Keep it fun.
Yep.
I know you guys are kind of mock going at each other. I know that you do. You're very competitive. I'm not saying you're not competitive, and I'm not saying you want to kill each other, but you have fun doing it, right? Because there's no animosity, I don't think, right? Like,
sure,
I don't know.
Say that.
You might find Demmer floating down the Lackawanna River later on this year, but
we'll see. We'll see.
Joe, that Venmo is on its way. Just so you know. I'll tell you what we need to. One of the things we need to continue to do, and that's the kids. We got to keep showing support for and recruiting more than anything else kids into the sport, because you look at, and we talk about Daniel and like Hugo and some of the other youngsters that are like teenagers, but I'm gonna give some positive vibes toward Demmer, because I don't know if you guys saw one of the young people that are on my team did a project for school, and it's like introductory thing, and it says "Meet my hero," and I'm gonna show you this picture, but that is a young lady that was on the kids podcast, Ashley Lamsley. She's only like 9 years old, but she put a picture of her brother, and John on this Meet My Hero thing, and described what his basically that John Demmer is a famous shooter. He holds a lot of national records and world records. To me and my brother, he's also my hero, and he holds national records too. I admire them both. Plus, John is a super nice guy. She's not. And yeah, you say that, but she's only 9 years old. She loves Barebow, like competitive Barebow.
Yeah,
that's what we need. I could care less about what I do in the sport as a competitor, but if these kids in 10 years are kicking all of our asses and all the records that are out there by John and whoever else are gone, and these kids, that's great. That's what the goal is. That's the long-term goal.
And she's got that. I don't know who captured that photo of her just like absolutely flexing after an awesome shot. That's like the Barebow picture, the quintessential Barebow picture, especially for young kids.
Yeah, for sure. But I'll be honest with you. Kids, I think in general are the future. I tend to really support kids no matter what they shoot. whether they shoot compound, whether they shoot Olympic recurve. I support them just because eventually, they may come to barebow, they may not. But the truth is that, as a whole, it's archery.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important to me anyways. I don't really care what discipline you shoot. I just think that, it's something that we need to grow and to really show people that, it's important. So for me, it's not just barebow. It's everything.
I mean, there's a decline in hunting. We know that. And then getting pick up a bow. But I want to talk about something controversial a little bit, and maybe this will make it.
Okay, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah, sure, go.
Talking about growing the sport, I think I've been thinking a lot about this. I spend time with the 4-H kids. We're doing like a clinic, and I think in November we're doing that for them. But also, I think it's getting manufacturers on board and helping with payouts, because really we do this for fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The pounders and the Olympic recurvers, they usually get a big check at the end or something like that. And we just get like a medal. And really that's, we do it for the love of the sport. But just getting some of these manufacturers on board and just seeing how many actual barebow or shooters there are out there. And, it's you don't want to get money involved. You don't want to say you want to get money involved, but it does help out, and it gives a little bit more incentive, and it helps with travel and things like that. So, I mean, I know
and it definitely gets the companies more invested in that class. So it
legitimizes the sport a little bit more. The class of barebow.
Exactly where I was going to go, and sort of that controversial, hey, we have to start paying our athletes more for these payouts, because that's how you get the talent, right? I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, we got to get the kids involved. But when they say, Frank and I did this podcast with the kids, there's a lot of good scholarships, even for barebow now. I mean, that's important. And how many people know that, right? So you got to get those scholarships involved, get them going. But then after that, they have a choice, and they got talent in archery. They pick up a compound bow, they know that they're going to be making $10,000 on a tournament, or they can pick up a barebow and get $0. I think they know what they're going to do, right? And that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is right now. And that's why I'm saying it's a little controversial, but we need to get those sponsors on board. We need to get people on board. It's a few bucks here, it's a few bucks there for manufacturers, but to get you guys, the top level guys, continuing to shoot and making barebow great, we have to start seeing a little bit better payouts, I think. And I know you guys kind of feel that way too, and you probably don't want to. I mean, John, you mentioned a little bit, but you don't want to harp on it. But I think that's one of the things we have to do, and maybe there's some unconventional ways that we can look at that. I think I'm starting to look at a few ways that we can help support and sponsor barebow too. So more to follow on that. But anyway, okay, so let's get off of that. Last thing, everyone dies to know this. Everyone loves to know, and that's a listener. What's the equipment that you guys are using to become champions, right? So just go around quick. Give us your rundown on your equipment, and then we'll have a little bit follow up, and then we'll let you guys go. Anyway, so why don't we start with you, Robert? You've been quiet for a bit.
Well, I honestly don't know all my equipment.
Well, you don't even own any.
I don't have a sponsor, so no, but I do shoot a CD riser. I borrowed it from Joe Cash Money, and it's a really nice riser. It's solid. I like the weight of it. I tried to Bosen riser, but it just didn't. The CD was so much more solid on my hand. I shoot the Yoast tab. I got some. What kind of arrows do I shoot, Joe?
Straight ones.
Dillinger arrows.
Hey,
I got them because Dillinger shot them, and they work well.
Oh, the VAPs.
The 3D
Victory.
3D
HVs.
HVs.
Yeah. And that's about my equipment run there.
John Dillinger signature arrows.
Those are good arrows.
They work great. They work great.
They're the best Walmart has to offer.
Here we go. See this?
No,
this is where it gets. Yeah.
Walmart is.
I will say,
Walmart is not a sponsor yet.
Right. They are light and fast, and they fly great. They're good arrows.
They are.
They're good arrows.
Awesome. Frank,
Apparently, they're good enough to beat Demmer.
Maybe, yeah. We won't go there.
Robert's shooting the same stage with so.
Hey, Mick, just imagine if I shot good arrows.
Oh, I know.
No, I don't want to think about
it. Frank, what are you shooting? What's your gear? What's your rig?
Same thing as always. I shoot the 27-inch G1 Gilo, which was a John Demmer special from years ago. I don't know which color it was that he shot in one of the billion videos out there, but it's probably one of those. And I have 40-pound Trad Tech limbs and a John Demmer string and a biter plunger and a ZT rest and of course the one and only Yoast tab with VAP ones as well and excess wings.
How much weight are you holding?
I think I cranked it up a bit. I think I'm right at 40 actually right now. I was at 38. I might be at 40 now.
Or 50. Okay. Hey, and Robert, sorry, I didn't get that from you. How much weight are you holding?
It's a 36-pound limb, but with my long draw length, it's 44 on the fingers.
Cool. Hey, thanks. Joe, how about you? Give us your rundown.
I'm shooting a Hoyt Formula X riser at the moment. 36-pound limbs, 40 on my fingers. Using a Gabriel bi-drop, Yoast tab, and this season for outdoors shot the Cross X Plurima limbs or arrows. So,
what'd you say your limbs were?
Velos.
Okay. Very cool. JD3, what do you got?
Depending on the day. I got the 20. I got a 27-inch Exceed I'm playing around with. I might shoot the XI. Both of them have Velos limbs. Sometimes I run the Yoast weight. Sometimes I'm trying the Hoyt Barebow weight. If I'm running the Yoast weights, I got a big brass and a little brass on the Exceeds. Mm-hmm. And for the XI, I just run a really big stainless steel disc. It's probably like 2.5 pounds on the disc. Okay. So both setups are pushing right around 6 3/4 pounds. I'm shooting 42 on the fingers, shooting 650 spine Nano Pro Extremes with 110 grain points, running a sniper arrow rest, running a biter plunger, and a Yoast tab.
Very cool. Very cool.
And Vortex optics.
Depends on the day. It's a good problem to have.
True story.
What do you got?
The 25-inch Exceed. The weight is like a prototype with Hoyt. So it's kind of interesting. And then the extra long Velos, which is another kind of a thing we're playing around with. So my bow was like 6.6 pounds, something like that. I think I was pulling 38.5 pounds. And the rest is a Spigarelli map. But I had it locked out so it wouldn't drop. And then Whiffler MP1 plunger, magnetic plunger. And then the arrows they were 500 spine BAPs, almost full length with 140s up front. And so it's pretty heavy arrow. So I think I was around 330 grains, something like that. Normally I shoot a lighter arrow, but this year it just seemed to work pretty good. And just some veins I had on there from like 2 years ago, honestly. But yeah, nothing special with the arrow. VAPs are great for the money. So
yeah. Hey, do you mind if I ask you about your plunger real quick? Mm-hmm. Sorry guys, this is just a personal thing.
No, that's fine. We can give a shout out to Alex Whiffler. He's trying to develop a recurve plunger, and I know he's gotten feedback from Dilly and from Demmer, and kudos to him for for being an entrepreneur in the sport. But he's trying to make some changes, right? You guys talk about it.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about, getting manufacturers on board. I mean, he's kind of helping the sport Barebow now too, as well as the recurve side of it. So, yeah, I'm really liking the rest. I just kind of put it on after indoor season when it's kind of playing around with it. I've shot magnetics in the past, so I kind of had something to compare it to. I shot the Arc, which is a magnetic. I think it's out of France. But yeah, I mean, I think going to something like string walking where we have to, crawl different crawls, or even indoors or something like that. We need something a little bit more adjustable, but yeah, it's a great rest. So
Plunger.
I mean plunger, yeah, sorry.
He don't even know. Why do we even have him here?
I'm here to help. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. Guys, that's all the questions I really have, and you've been great. But I want to leave it open now and just go back to Frank and JD3, are the co-hosts here. So if you guys have questions, I mean, now's a good time to. Well, shout out to everyone. But that's all I had. Thanks for sticking with me.
I don't know. I mean, I think we covered everything. I will say that for those of you that are paying attention to what Hoyt's doing, and once those 27-inch risers come out with the XLMs, if you can get a chance to shoot one, shoot it. I had to shout out to Scott Eisman from Archery 360 for letting us practice at his place. I guess on Thursday they canceled all the practice and shut everything down because of lightning. And we had already planned on going there, but we went over and I got to shoot John's bow, Demmer's bow, while we were there. And I'll tell you what, that thing was nice. I am not a sponsored shooter, and I don't care. that shit shot good. And so you guys keep an eye out for that, and be ready when it hits the market.
330 grain arrows. You were practically caber tossing. No wonder why you beat the wind.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what it is, but this combination. Normally, I have a problem getting point on at that weight, and I don't know, these extra long limbs with the Exceed. I was shooting high on everything, so I had to go with a heavier arrow, which actually helped me in the wind, I think. So it didn't really have much effect on the arrow at all.
A little bit. What were you running? 140 grain points?
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it did seem. John, you were using 110s as well, right?
I was using 110s, yeah.
Yeah.
What's your so Alex Melnick does make some really pretty cool heavy points too, so I might be playing around with those a little bit. He makes those up for the nanos up to 140 grains as well. So I might have to combat Dilly's 140 with my 140.
Do you think that you'll have to, because your draw length's a little bit shorter than Dilly, right?
No. He's got monkey arms.
Size doesn't matter.
He's like 3 inches shorter than me, and his arms are like longer than mine.
Right. That's right. He draws short and does this, so he doesn't get full draw length out of it.
So one thing I would like to know is how was Robert's first experience? What will he think he's going to change for next time? And I don't know, what would his words be for someone who's on the fence of maybe getting into target archery?
Well, I would say just try it and just do it. There's nothing holding you back. Whether you get a medal or whether you come in last place, the people in archery have always been so nice and inviting and open to questions and advice. You can get so much advice, good advice, bad advice. But I would just say go and try. Don't hold yourself back.
That's good.
Robert, how long have you been shooting Barebow?
About a little less than 2 years ago, I blew up my compound in Joad. I misfired, I dry fired, and I went home and I looked around. I had a 23-inch riser with some 20-pound limbs, and I said, Barebow it is. and then Joe saw me shooting that, and he started throwing stuff at me, going, big man, little bow, we need to get you something a little bit better. So help me out. a lot.
Yeah, he did look pretty funny with that 23-inch bow.
Well, you couldn't have waited one more year because I would have liked to see that at Target Nationals.
I have a picture. I can forward you a picture. I'll put one on Facebook for you.
He looked like a 6'5" Cupid.
That would have been an awesome picture side by side with me and Robert. I had like a 75-inch bow, and he would have had like a 65-inch. I'm like waiting to shoot with Dilly, and I got my hand on the top of my limbs, and my hand's like way up here.
Hey, what happened to size doesn't matter. You just said that a while ago.
I proved my point. It doesn't matter. Dilly's little bow prevailed.
But yeah, I think Doug Denton at Hoyt is really doing some great things, which I think if we're a manufacturer to actually listen to some shooters, like, Barebow shooters, is that says a lot. So, I mean, I think the equipment's really good, and I think it's only going to get better. So,
yeah. No, you're 100% right, man. It's a huge step, and kudos to you guys for sort of, you're the obvious choice for a Hoyt shooting staff, but at the same time, as much as like the whole pro staff shooting staff thing kind of gets annoying in like the compound world, you almost need it. Like you need it in some ways, and you need other manufacturers then to jump on board to be like, not necessarily the best, everybody's not going to get the best. So I guess we're not going to have a Matthews version of Barebow because they have everyone, but you need those other companies. You need more manufacturers. You need more across the board. And, until we get that, we're inclining and things are going in the right direction for sure. But COVID really, I think, put a bit of a damper on that as well. With tournaments, you have some companies that aren't taking on staff because of it, and stuff like that. But shout out to Doug and Hoyt and Calvin and Dwayne. You got to give CD credit for what credit's due, because they're like the OGs of supporting Barebow. We want to give those guys obvious credit as well. And then Yost and all of the main players who have helped keep things afloat and moving forward. So, Matt.
Well, I think we're definitely on an uptick of notoriety and people recognizing that there is potential in investing in Barebow. So I think that's one of the things that's going to definitely help the class grow a little bit more.
Yeah, we got some great personalities now, and on the ladies' side too, and on the men's side. So it's pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, the ladies, the ladies, I think are where the men were a few years ago, and I think they're definitely making the uptick now too. So it'll be exciting to watch the ladies grow here in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's key to keep it fun. It really is. At the end of the day, as competitive as we are, we still have fun with it. I think that's really the key to the sport. Not everybody's going to want to compete, but when they do compete, we're having fun with it.
Yeah, I think anybody, it's intimidating going to your first big shoot. I think a lot of people are like, I don't think I can do that, or I won't even know what to do or where to go, or, just do it. Ask any of the shooters that have been there, and they're more than willing to help you out, get you pointed in the right direction and just tell you everything that they know. I know all these guys, on this call are great and will answer anything that they know. They're not going to hold back information. So anybody that's out there is thinking about doing one of these shoots, just do it.
Yeah. And if the person you want to talk to is kind of busy, there's always Frank. So
message Frank.
Always. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's all right.
There's a little bit of how do I get started out there in the world, right? I know we YouTube things and how do I start Barebow and that sort of thing. So I think podcasts like this help. But you guys speaking out and you guys doing your own content, that would be perfect. Honestly, the more you guys can do, the better you get the word out there, because it's intimidating. I mean, I just started Barebow, and honestly, I didn't know how to start. I mean, how do you start? How do you get involved? I actually got involved with Frank, and that helped out a lot, but I got lucky there, right? So, and there's been a plethora of good information coming down the pipe. And then where are the tournaments that you can actually go to? So those sort of things and that information need to be readily available. And I guess that's why we do podcasts, and that's why we're trying to get as many people involved as possible in creating content. So you guys, when you put out stuff on your Instagram or your Facebook, there's young guys or guys that are just trying to get in sport. They watch you. They watch you. They're hanging on every word you say. So, I mean, the more you do it, the more we appreciate it. I know it probably sounds like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to put stuff out there. I don't want to be that guy. But honestly, you guys are the ambassadors of our sport, and we need you guys to put that information out there. So I want to thank you, though, for the stuff that you have done. Really, really do appreciate everything that the role models that you guys currently are. So thanks for that. All right. With that, I think we'll wrap up. I think we had a really great conversation. You guys are excellent. You're good sports, and also competitors to the bone. We love it. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank our sponsors. Frank, who are our sponsors this week? Is it Bars again?
It's always Yost Archery Products. Always Eric and Tracy.
Yost Archery Products.
And Bannett from XS Veins is what I think their name is on Instagram and Facebook, but XS Wings we call them. I mean,
XSwings.com actually. So that gets you to their website. Great.
And don't
forget, I think they still have a code for that. What was the code, Frank?
Barebow Project 19, I believe, was actually what it was, but
we might have to talk to him.
Or no, Barebow Project 20. I'm sorry, Barebow Project 20. Yeah, is the code. It's I think 20% off, John.
Yes.
Yeah,
we'll go to their website and use that code, and you get 20% off your XS wings. And Mick, I want to give a shout out to ArcheryGeek too, because Mick has hopped on board to help with editing, and tonight he's kind of doing a little bit of hosting, and Mick's doing his own thing. So, dude, you get credit where credit is due, because what we have found, and you just talked about putting content out. Putting content out is freaking hard, because it's time consuming. Dilly, you've done a little bit with us, and you've sent videos, and like it actually plagues your training or like your preparation when you're starting to build. And Zernzak has found that out. I mean, he's all over the place, but it's everybody has their niche, and ArcheryGeek has become part of the Barebow Project family. And dude, it's your niche. So you're playing a role that is super, super important as well. So like I said, give credit where credit is due. And, you guys down in Texas, man, you guys are growing the sport down there. You're pumping out shooters year after year, and we're seeing new faces, and that's just as important.
I wasn't so afraid of social media. I'd probably, be a little bit more active in the community. It just scares the crap out of me. Sorry, I'm a geek.
I think the community is better off with you staying hidden behind the screen.
You might be right.
Stay under your mushroom, Joe.
Yep.
Stay under your mushroom.
I will be reaching out to you to grab some stuff from you, just to make sure that you get on there and people get experience your.
We almost got him hooked on Facebook one time. Yeah. I'm like flipping through, and it said suggested friend. I'm like, Joe Cash. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And then I had to tell my mom go away, and that was bad. I didn't get invited to Thanksgiving that year.
Well, that was the reason for that year anyway.
Yeah. A couple other ones down the road, but yeah,
that's another
perhaps
episode.
Another time.
All right, man.
You guys are fantastic.
Well, thank you. I want to say thanks, Dilly, for coming on. You're like the fourth time. I don't even freaking know how many times you've been on this podcast.
Yeah, we would like to thank Dilly's awesome mustache for coming on and joining us.
But and Joe and Robert, you guys, thanks so much. I don't know I don't know if you've ever done this before. It's a kind of, we're the only ones that do it this way. But, thank you so much.
No, this was great. This was great.
Great catching up with everybody.
Definitely.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Hope you had a great time. Don't forget to thank our sponsors, ArcheryGeek, XS Wings, and Yoast Archery Products. Come on back next time and join us on the Barebow Project Podcast.